Hey guys, this is Wolf and welcome to my first video tutorial. So in this tutorial I'm going to be showing you guys how to build a cool 3D agent that can take any image and transform it into a fully functional and textured 3D model. So this is going to be my first video. It's probably going to be a longer one, and yeah, a warm welcome to everybody who's viewing this right now. On this channel, I'm planning to show you guys a lot about the tools I built, which consist of no-code agents. We are building them in n8n, preferably, like this tutorial and this agent today, but also code solutions. I do build a lot of Python applications. We are probably going to be building mobile apps, cool dashboards, cover both the front end and back end, and pretty much I just want to show you guys all these amazing opportunities that this digital age of AI has to offer. So without further ado, let's get right started, and let's get started with this amazing bot. So the workflow is going to be as follows. We are going to control this bot via Telegram, and we can either send an image or any image URL. And basically it's just going to start to queue that task, and then it's going to create that model, right? And it's going to give us a preview of the model and also create the texture and the final model, right? So just to show you guys what this will look like. So this was created entirely from a single image that I created using Midjourney, right? And it created this full texture here that perfectly fits the model. And it also is a pretty decent model, you know, from all perspectives. It has this full mesh. We could also remesh it if you need like lower or higher amount of meshes. But it's doing a pretty damn good job in my eyes, especially given that this only takes a couple minutes, right? So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. So we are going to be building this entirely in n8n, which is a super cool no-code platform. So that means you do not need to write a single line of code. I will probably also cover this in a different tutorial and show you guys how to write this fully in Python, which is also super powerful and even a little bit more, well, capable to scale or to, you know, integrate into different workflows. But for now, n8n will do perfectly fine, right? So yeah, to achieve all of this, we will need to get a first bot, first of all. So this tutorial is going to be a little bit longer. I will include all the timestamps, so you can just skip through the video. If you're a little bit more advanced, you can skip most of these steps, you know, like obtaining an API key or building a new Telegram bot. But this is completely beginner suited, which means I will show you every single step, right? I will probably also make separate tutorials, like unique tutorial only how to make Telegram bots and how to make Discord bots and all of that. But yeah, this one is going to be like the all-in-one solution kind of, right? So first of all, we want to go to botfather on Telegram at botfather, which is basically, you know, the go-to point to create a new Telegram bot. And Telegram makes it super easy for us to create and communicate with bots, which is much easier than Discord and so much easier than WhatsApp, for example. Although we will be covering Discord and WhatsApp bots on this channel as well, of course, right? So let's just do something like, I'm not even sure, model agent tutorial. And now the username has to end in bot, either with just like bot or underscore bot. So I'm just gonna be doing something like agent builder bot, model agent builder bot. Just something that is not taken, right? So perfect. Now, very important to communicate with the Telegram API is this little key here, okay? Or basically the token, right? So we want to click on it to copy it, right? And now we want to add a new credential here. So you can go add first credential, or you can just say here, create new credential, right? So we want to select Telegram now. So this is in n8n. I will also attach all links in the video description, of course. If you guys have any questions, just let me know. I'm always happy to help and answer any questions, okay? So we are just going to paste this token here. We're going to click save. Now it's going to check the connection. Everything should be fine here in 1 second. It's still testing. Also, we can rename this. So I'm going to rename this model agent bot. And let's see, we do not need to update that. No, thank you. And connection has been tested successfully. So we can just close this window. Well, it didn't save this one. So model agent bot. Let me actually do 3. Whoops, my caps is on already. 3D model agent bot save. And now we have this credential saved and can use it in any workflow, okay? So basically what I want to do next, actually I'm gonna hold on, what kind of projects do I have? Let me reload quickly, because it should be, yeah, it was kind of like bugging out. So it wasn't added here, right? I want to add my credential here in this little menu, so I'm gonna add it here again already. So we're gonna do this, we're gonna paste this, we're gonna rename this 3D model agent bot, because the way n8n works is that basically every of your projects has its own set of credentials and also of workflows, of course. So I want to make all the tutorials in this project. Okay, so this has been done. Now we can start from scratch and rename this workflow to 3D model agent. Okay, so you can make this pretty quickly, like fairly quickly, and in a relatively simple way. I'm going to make it a little bit more advanced, just so you guys can kind of play around with it and also have some options, you know. So we will add a very basic auth so that only certain users can access the bot, and we will also switch between images and URLs, so you can also just send a cool image you find in the internet on the internet and send a link. Okay, so first of all, we will be using Meshy for this, the Meshy API. In fact, Meshy is a super cool website to create 3D models from either text or image prompts. There are a lot of platforms, but I feel like Meshy is definitely, well, kind of ahead of the curve. Pretty cool tool I've been using for a while and been doing a lot for that. Also super interesting in the game dev scene, of course. And it also offers texturing and even animations, right? So I probably cover some animations in a different tutorial as well, right? So what we want to do here is we want to quickly check out the docs here, and basically, well, just like with any platform, you know, you can go through the docs and kind of understand how everything's working, how this API is working. You can also give this to GPT or any of your favorite LLM and have it analyze it. So we do have some parameters that we can set here, but I'm just going to show you all of that in the actual node, okay? But basically, we want to use the image to 3D endpoint here. You could also use text to 3D. And then we have some different steps here, like create the image, retrieve the image, list all our tasks, stream the image task to get like up-to-date information nonstop, and then also retrieve the object, of course, right? So Meshy does give you a free credits, 100 free credits. So that is a super good starting point to just kind of get, you know, the first feel for that and see how everything goes, and we will be using that, okay? So first of all, I'm going to go to the API section here, and then we can create a new API key, right? I think before we do that, because we need to put it into n8n, we will actually set up the nodes first, okay? So we are going to start with the Telegram trigger. You go to Telegram, and we want to do on message. This is a trigger that means whenever this basically triggers, the workflow will initiate, okay? And this is a message trigger, so that means whenever we receive a message webhook from Telegram, we will trigger our workflow, right? So here you can connect your credential. In our case, it's only 3D model agent. Later on, you're gonna have like 10, 20 bots here probably. So you want to make sure it's the correct bot, okay? And we can also rename this, but for the sake of simplicity, I'm just gonna keep it like that, okay? So what we can actually do, because there is the possibility of sending an image, we can select this little drop-down menu and check this, which means it will directly download the file, in this case the image, if we have one, okay? So we want to do that, and now we want to do our first little check. So we're going to do a little if route here, and we want to say this is a little is admin check, right? So we want to basically check if our user ID is in our auth list and is authorized to use our bot, right? So to do that, we need to test our workflow once, and we want to actually, you know, talk to the bot. So once you've created this bot, you can just click on this and you hit start, and it's going to initiate the workflow because we have received the webhook successfully, right? So we have a lot of information here, you know, Wolf Automation, Wolf AIO, and so forth, which is one of my Telegram accounts. And super interesting for me is the user ID and the chat ID. We are going to be using both of these, right? So basically what we want to do now is we want to go into this little admin thingy here, and we want to compare a value here, right? So we want to see the Telegram trigger message from ID. You can also have the table view here, whatever you prefer, or JSON, which is also pretty cool, right? So from this message, the ID, we want to compare that value, and we want to make sure it's equal to our own value, which is our Telegram ID, okay? Right? Is admin, okay? So we can convert types if needed. So maybe saved as an integer and we have a string or vice versa. And now we can just test the step, and it's going to return a true branch because, well, that is true, right? And this simple check is basically the full auth check already. So that means only we can access the bot and nobody else can access the bot, right? So you can have a little like error message, so to speak. So you want to go to Telegram again, you want to go to send message, send a text message. And now we want to say something like, you're not authorized to use this bot. And we want to use the chat ID from previously, which means we need to, hold on, we need to check this. And we need to say, give me 1 second. So because it returned true, I kind of need to copy this, but you want to use an expression and say from our Telegram trigger, item.json.message.chat.id, right? So the ID of the chat, it's going to respond in that chat, obviously, right? Because the bot will be capable to respond to different chats in theory. So of course we want to send the message to the unauthorized user, okay? So you can say something like no auth, okay? So this basically just means, actually we can also just test it, right? I'm gonna make this a 2, right? I'm gonna save this, and then I'm gonna go ahead and say, hey. Also we need to test the workflow. And then it's saying you're not authorized to use this bot. Also, you want to make sure for these messages to click this little append n8n attribution field here and disable it, so we don't always have this little annoying thingy. And now if you say something like, you know, create model, it's just going to say you're not authorized to use this bot. But if we go back to our actual Telegram ID, it will authorize only us, okay? So this is the very first basic auth step we are going to be using, okay? Next, we want to use a switch node, which means we are going to, well, see if the message we received was actually a photo or just a text, because we will also allow the user to send an image link, right? So we want to test the workflow again, and then we can just, I keep opening the wrong Telegram. I have like, you know, multiple Telegrams, Discord, all of that. A little bit annoying. So, well, we want to send a link and an image here. So actually I can just, you know, go ahead, go to my little community Meshy workspace here, go to something like this. And then, whoops, let me open this in a new tab. Actually, just download, which is fine. So we can also just copy the image address, right? Well, I should probably keep this open. Here we are. And now the trigger is still active, so we can just send this here. Whoops. And now we already have some information on what we just received, right? So we want to use the switch now and compare multiple routes pretty much, right? So also we can, the first one is going to be text, we can rename that. And now we want to see if our json.message.text, so it's going to be message.text, this one here, the json.message.text exists. So we're going to go to boolean exists. So we pretty much just check if a text exists, it's going to route to the text branch. And then we add a new one and we say if a photo exists, it's going to route to the photo route. So we know how to convert the, well, either the link or the image later to actually like append it to the API body that we send to Meshy, because the payload needs to have a certain formatting, okay? So to test this, wrong type, let me see. So if this exists, it should be text. Well, that should be fine, I think. And now we can also test to send an image. So I'm just going to copy this image. And now we are going to start the workflow. We are going to send this as an image. And now we know it gave us this binary data. So it gave us the actual image. And that is because we set the little download file in the Telegram trigger here, right? So it's actually downloading the file if it detects a file. And now in this route, we can just say, but we want to go to the table and we can just say photo. So if json.message.photo exists, the bool, we can just say photo. So now we either have a text or a photo. It's going to be one of these two, right? And we can go from here, okay? So there's two different things we kind of need to work with depending on if it's an actual link or if it's a photo. So if it is a link, we want to check if it's a valid link first. So what you can do in n8n is you can use code node. So you want to go to this branch here, the text one, and you just want to add a code node. And now let's make this big. And there's a little code I made previously, which is basically just a quick way of determining if this is likely to be a valid link. And it's just comparing this little pattern here if it has certain things like the HTTPS and certain image endings, right? File endings, okay? So we can close this and we can just, well, actually, I like to, keep most of my nodes clean, so we can say something like validate image URL or something like that. And then we want to test this again. And we want to send this image URL again, right? So now it went through here. Let me see what is the problem. So if this exists, we want to convert types. Let's see, do we not have, we do have convert types here. What's the problem here? Oh, this little check. Yeah, you do need this little check. I thought I had it because I had it here, but we need it in both nodes. So you want to have this little check on to have type converting pretty much, right? Now you want to basically just do this again. So let me see. Let's make sure this is an H. Sent that. Perfect. Going through. So now it successfully went through the text route. It actually validated my image URL and it recognized, okay, this is a valid image URL. So to prove to you that this is working, we can also say something like model or whatever. So just a normal text, which is not a valid image URL. And it's gonna return an error and saying invalid image URL, right? So this is only 8 lines of code, but this is doing a fantastic job, and it's going to return our image URL or an error saying, well, the user sent something, but it's not a valid image URL, so I cannot work with it pretty much, okay? So next, we can use a new switch route. I'm just kind of working my text path, and then we can go to the photo path, okay? Well, this is gonna be another validate one. And pretty much we just want to say that we just want to compare if that was an image or if that was a wrong message, right? So we are going to do something like that again. If json.error exists, convert types. This is very important. We rename this, well, to error, I guess, just something like that. And now for the other one, let me run it again because we want to have a valid one, That's kind of how you can get like the perfect mock data. I could also go into executions, get previous data, but I kind of like to have the real-time tests. So we basically just check with this switch node what our code previously returned. So we want to check if we have received a valid image URL. So we go to exist and we just rename this to image URL, or if we have received JSON error, which means it was not valid, right? So now we have the image URL or the error. Now, if we have an error, we can send something like, hey, whatever, no image found or whatever. So basically, I'm just going to copy this node, going to direct this to here. I'm going to rename this, say something like no valid URL. We want to make sure it's going to be in the same chat that we used previously, disable the n8n attribution. And basically you can say something like, hey, whatever, this didn't work out or something, but you can also just append the error we had, which means you want to go to expression, and then you want to say json.error. Oh, that was my Claude. json.error, which means it's going to append the error object from the previous execution, right? Rename already, perfect. So what this is basically doing, if we have an error, it's going to pass the object here. It's going to send this error object instead of just writing a text here. So we don't write a new string, we actually pass this error here, okay? So that makes it a little bit more dynamic. So if we change something in our validation logic, we do not need to update every single node. We just pass the object, right? This is kind of, a good way of this algorithmic thinking and making it more dynamic and also more efficient. Okay, so you can also just go ahead and test this, kind of like test every single step, image or whatever. And it's gonna say invalid image URL, right? It's going to send the actual error, okay, which is perfect. So next, if we do have a valid image URL, we need to prepare that because we want to put it into our payload on the API call, right? So what we want to do is we want to have a set node just to have it pretty clean, I guess. I kind of like to do that, to make sure it's the right object. So we pass the same object to the next node. No matter if we actually put an image into the bot or a URL, and this is going to make sense in just a second, right? So let me, just send something like this here. Oops, and now we go through this, we get the image URL. Okay, perfect. So what we want to do now is we just want to have this object, and we are going to, hold on one second, actually, whoops, I need to put this here. So we basically want to set, so this, yeah, I kind of switched these. So this is going to be the name, this is going to be the object, right? So we want to put the object here, our URL, and we want to make sure that it's actually named under image URL. This is not necessarily important in this step, but it's going to make the next node easier. It's going to make sense in a second. And also it's going to make the workflow more dynamic in case you ever like change this and you make sure, okay, it's still going to be like image URL. And you want to include everything in case we have more, right? Although I think we don't even need that, but I think we can leave it on. It doesn't really matter, I think. So now what we want to do is we want to have an HTTP call, right? So now the magic is going to happen, and the magic is going to be the Meshy API. So we basically want to, pretty much want to do this API call here, which is also cool. You can copy the C URL here, the curl, but we can also just copy this, right? So actually I can probably just copy the full C URL and then just change everything, because I want to show you guys how that works. So we want to import this URL, we put everything in, we import it, and n8n is automatically filling out all these fields for us. So this is super cool. If you just copy this curl here, it's gonna set all the parameters for you instead of like manually adding the headers and this and that and whatever. Okay, so now we should not forget to go to the API section here, create a new API key, model agent or whatever, create, and then copy this API key. Make sure you do not leak this, because it will be like a direct key to your account. It can drain all your credits and all of that. So you need to put the API key right behind the bearer, but make sure there is one space. So you want to say authorization. This is a header, by the way, the authorization header. It's a typical auth header. Bearer, then you have one single space, right? Make sure you have one space, you paste the key, that's going to be it, right? Now we go through this, make sure everything is right. So, actually, instead of setting these in these fields, I kind of like to delete them, right? And just use JSON, so we have a little bit more freedom in the way we want to code this. I kind of have this coding background, so I do like to work with code even in like no code environments, which, I guess could make it more complicated, but also, offers us more freedom, right? So let's open this. I'm gonna paste. Oh, whoops! I still have the curl here. I actually meant to. Hold on. What just happened? Just wanted. It did work. Okay, so we just have a simple JSON body. This is pretty much the same we had before, but we have it as a full JSON code here, so we can modify it way more easily. Okay, so because there are more ways to modify this. You can see here you could also add strings, like if you want to use quads or triangles, you can add the poly count, you can add the boolean if it should remesh or not, enable PBR, and so forth for texturing. So you can set a lot of things. You do not have to though, because it has default values, right? And it's pretty easy. Now, why I want to use this approach is I basically want to pass the image URL as image URL object. And this should work in both branches, no matter if we have sent an image or a link, right? We want to use the Meshy 4 model, the texturing, we want to enable texturing, and we can just set the auto symmetry mode. We don't need to like configure if it's triangles or quads or whatever. So this looks good to me. Now this kind of goes like here, because we should not forget that we also have this photo node, right? So this is all good if we have a link. We are going to validate the link, blah, 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 and append it here in the payload. But what if we have a photo? How are we going to append the photo? Well, good thing is the Meshy API works with both a direct link or a base64 representation of the image. So how does that work? Well, pretty easy. We have the binary data here. We need to convert this to a base64 string, which is a super common way of representing images as a string, and then, you know, just send it via API or whatever. So we want to have a convert node here, extract from binary file, and now we want to say move file to base64 string. And this is pretty straightforward. We just want to put the data in the input field, because data is the default name that Telegram gives it. And then we want to have the image URL as output name, because that is the variable we set for the API to use, right? And this is pretty much it. And we can rename this as always and say get base64, because we will get the base64 representation of our string. So if we run this node, it's gonna transform this binary image we took and give us the string. Now there is one more thing we need to do, because of the way how the API of Meshy works is that it needs to be a certain format. So we need to prepend the base64 formatting kind of, and this is pretty easy. I'm just going to show you how it works. So you want to have a set node here, right? Add a new field, and we basically want to return the image URL again, but we want to change the value, and this is going to look a little bit tricky, but it's actually pretty easy. So what this does is the following. We are basically only prepending this little text here, which means for the Meshy API, it's clarifying, okay, hey, Meshy, the string I'm going to send you now for the payload is going to be a base64 image. So that's why we have to do data image JPEG base64, right? And we will just use the image URL from the previous node, right? So we can say something like prepend base64 for this, rename it. This should be good. So now we can connect this to this node, and the beauty of this workflow now is that no matter which path we went, it's still going to take this image URL object and just pass it either through the top path here or through the bottom path here, right? And it's super easy to show this. Well, actually, it's going to send the request right away, but I guess we can just test it. So let's actually test the image to see if it is actually working, because it's quite a few steps, right? And as you can see, it's super quick. There was one issue which we're going to look at now, but it did work to give us the super long base64 string and then prepend text. So let's see what's wrong. Well, okay, the free plan does not support tasks anymore. Okie dokie, that's fine. So we do need the paid plan, which is totally fine. Just give me 1 second. Okay, here we are, just 1 second. So I'm gonna use a different API key now. I do have multiple Meshy accounts. Wanted to use the free one here on this account, but it's totally fine. So we basically just exchange this key here like that. And now it should work like a charm. So we'll just send this image again like that. As you can see, it's gonna get the binary data, it's gonna transform it to a base64 string, prepend the little thingy for the API, and then send the request. And the way this works is it's just gonna return a simple 200 result object, and this is the task ID that we can then use to get more updates from, right? So let me do that. Also, what we can just do, I think, is we can just do something super simple and say, well, copy this, right? Just copy the URL, because I kind of like to have these dynamic updates personally. Say something like task started like that. Put the text in like this. 3D model task submitted. This may take a while. Please be patient. Disable the n8n attribution here. Make sure it's the correct bot if you have multiple, and just send the message, right? So click this. Whoops. It's going to send the message. Hey, 3D model task submitted. This may take a while. Please be patient. So we will actually inform the user, okay, your task has been successfully queried, and it's going to well, be submitted now, pretty much, you know, or it's going to be created now, to be precise. So now we want to create a super simple loop. I do not love the way loops work in n8n, so I kind of prefer to do such things in Python because you do have more flexibility, but it'll be perfectly fine. So we just have a kind of higher wait time here because it needs some time to create the 3D model, obviously. So something like 45 seconds. For the sake of this tutorial, I'm gonna do something like 15 though, to, you know, well, actually I could do 45 and just do time lapse. So let's do that. And now it's gonna be a super simple HTTP request to get updates, right? So we want to say get updates. Now you just want to do this. So this just means, well, actually, I should rename this so to make sure this is working. So we name this Meshy image to 3D because this is an image to 3D task, right? And basically we're just going to talk to this image to 3D node from Meshy, which is the task creator, and then get the result. So it's super simple. Basically all we want to access is this little result here, you know, super simple, this little hex string. And the way to get updates, it's pretty easy as well. We just send a GET request to the image 3D API and we append the task ID of our task. And of course we need to authorize. So I'm just going to go ahead, copy this bearer token with our API key. Authorization. Got a new keyboard, so kind of need to learn how to use it. And that should be it. So that should be pretty much it. I think, yeah, we do not need any payload or anything. We can just test it. Well, actually, it's going to execute the previous node now. So, well, it's going to be, let me disable this. Now execute this again. And now it didn't create the task. Well, yeah, this is, well, I do need to, okay, let me just do this, do 5 seconds here. And now we test this again. And it's going to submit the task ID here in 1 second. Let's see what the problem is. So let's see. It did not return our thingy. Why is that? Let me see. We want to go to this. So whenever you have something like that, you know, the easiest way is just to drag this here like that. And now it cannot determine which item to use. Let me see. Why is that? Did I use the correct one? Meshy image to 3D. It's called Meshy image to 3D. It doesn't know. It should be the first, but that let me see. So I guess we could do that maybe. Let's see. It's not working. Okay, give me 1 second. Okay, perfect. So, well, first means it's going to use the first instance. I'm not entirely sure why it requires the first now. Probably because we have, well, potentially because we have the wait node in between. It should not be the case though. But well, this is kind of like the live debugging that we also have to do sometimes, right? So this worked now, and as you can see, it gave us all the information of our task, right? So actually you can see the task has been successfully created because the status is succeeded, 100% progress. And it also gives you the model URL, and it also gives you the thumbnail URL here, which is the preview of the image, and also the texture image, right? So we want to use these 3 links to send feedback to the user pretty much. And to complete this little loop, we need to check one more thing though, which is going to be an if node. We want to check if our, I guess we can do status or progress, but status is going to be more precise probably. So we just want to check if the status of our previous get call is equal to succeeded, which means the task has been completed, then we wanna send all the information, and this is the check progress node, right? Like that. So it's either gonna be true or false. Well, if it's gonna be false, we can send a little different node. So let me go here. Whoops, to that. Now just say something like update progress. You do not have to do that, but you can. And well, basically you just want to do something like this. So that means from our get updates node, we want to send the progress and just report that back to our user in Telegram. And then we want to loop back to here and basically go into our loop, right? So we create the task, we wait a little bit, we get updates, we see how much progress we've made. We check if it's done. If it is done, we will send the results. If it is not done, we will update the progress back to the user, wait again, go from here. So I think I'm gonna build the workflow a little bit further and then test all of this so you can see it live. And from this point on, it's all gonna be pretty easy. So you just want to basically copy Telegram nodes and send all the stuff, right? It's pretty easy. So we just say something like, hey, your 3D model has been successfully created. We send it to this Telegram ID. Let's see, can't determine which item to use, execute node for more info. Well, let me see. This is going to be task succeeded, like that. It should work because we only have one Telegram trigger node. It goes all the way through here. It is going to be connected. I think this is making, yeah, because of we need to rerun the workflow in 1 second. Well, I guess we could also rerun it now and just show you how it goes. So let's do that. Send this. So it's waiting now. Then it's getting the updates, going through here, checking all of that. Wait, hold on. Why did it go here? If the status is equal to succeeded, should not be. Let me stop that. Well, it is. Okay, the problem is this. So apparently that was just a workflow bug. We do not need that. We are going to test the step now like that. Because this is how it should be. We do not need the first one. It's going to use the same one every single time. Now, as you can see, this in progress. So we also need to run this again. We need to run this again. And now it's going to say progress 45%, right? So it's basically just using our progress here, which is this number here, the progress number. And it's going to report that back to the user. And once it's completed, we will go into this branch. So gonna continue to build this branch here, and now we just want to send everything that the user may be interested in, which is going to be how the image looks, right? So from our get updates, let me see. Well, we need this to finish first, so let me get the update again and see if it's done. It's still in progress, 55%, so we will just wait for a second. I can already build some of these things though, right? Because we also want to send the texture and the model, send texture. And then we need to get an HTTP node to download the actual model. Like that. And then we need to send the final model, okay? So it's going to be send 3D model, right? Like that. All right. We are going to update the text in 1 second. Let me run this again. Check where we are. We are at 99%, so we're about done. So we can also check this. Send one final update, 99%. We will be finished in just a second. Then we can just send everything we need. Alrighty, let's check. So we have everything here. Perfect. We can run this node. Now we are here. Okay. So, well, actually, this has been done. Now we are here. So here we actually want to send a file. Oh, wait, hold on. We want to send here. It's this one, my bad. So we want to send a file, but in a message, which is going to be a photo. So where do we have it here? Send photo, perfect. So now we go back to our Telegram trigger. Let me see where it is. Table, Telegram trigger. This is kind of how you can navigate everything. Hold on, I need this. Okay, perfect. So we want to use this chat ID here, which is our chat ID, obviously. And now we want to go to the get updates node. And I'm just going to do JSON because that's like easier to look at, I guess. And now we want to go and find our thumbnail URL for the photo like that. And well, I guess we can add a caption here and name it something like preview of your 3D model. And this is going to send the preview image. So let's execute it. And voila, here we go. Here we have this. Oh, wait, now we actually created this dog. That's pretty funny. Let's see how it looks like. Just from the image, that's kind of funny. So let's go back here, go to the send texture. And the texture is going to be the same again, pretty much. So it's going to be a photo. We are going to add our caption here of the texture. We are going to find the texture in our get updates node here. And we want to go to the texture URL base color. It's going to be this one. It's going to send our first texture URL from this array, which only has one entry, and it's going to be the base color of that first object in the array. And now we can send that. And voila, it sent the texture. Now, the last thing we need to do is we need to download the 3D model and then send it as a file. So that's also going to be pretty easy. So you are going to want to select the get updates here. And now you do have the model in different file formats like GLB, FBX, USDZ, and OBJ. But you can also just use the standard one, which I believe is GLB, if I'm not mistaken, and it is. So you just put this in here. It's pretty damn easy. And then you run the node, and it's going to give you the file as data. And now you want to go into the last node of our perfect workflow here. Well, I hope it is perfect, but we will find out in 1 second if it works fully. And just say send document as binary file, and you just reference the name of the binary file, and it will take that from the previous node, which is going to be data here. This one is data, so this one is also data. We send the model, and voila, we have the GLB file here. So I'm gonna open this here in Blender now. We can put this here, import it, get rid of this little thingy, and use our texture, which I believe is this. And here we have the model. So yeah, now we have the 3D model here, perfect. In the next step, we could also animate that. We, could retexture it. We could remesh it. We could make like low poly versions of it and all of that. But so far so good. I think this is super good. This actually looks pretty cool, and this is only from this one single image that we sent here, this one. And yeah, that's basically the workflow of our sweet little 3D agent. So that should be it, I think. Let me go through it again. So we start with our Telegram trigger. We check if we have auth. This is just a kind of useful thing you can do. You do not have to. You can also just skip it. I kind of like to do it. So, well, only I can use my bot. Then we switch between either the text or the photo input. If it is a text, we're going to validate the URL to make sure it is actually an image that we can use. Then we are checking again and giving feedback to the user. If it works, we're going to put this into the payload of the API call to Meshy. If it does not work, I'm sorry, I mean if it is a photo, we will get the base64 string, prepend the right string to that for the payload to work again. Either way, we're going to end up with an image payload, either the direct link or the base64 string. We are going to give feedback to the user on every iteration. We're going to loop through it, get the update progress, report back the progress like here. So we are actually going to say 20%, 45, 99%. If it has been completed, we will report back to the user, then send an image of what the model looks like, send the texture, which can be downloaded from Telegram then, download the model and send the model. So this is going to be, yeah, this is going to be our little agent. Let me know if you have any more questions, guys. That was super fun to make. I know this is a little bit longer, and well, I did cover a lot of basics, you know, like setting up the Telegram bot and adding the credentials here and all these basic things. But yeah, I'm super happy that this worked out so nicely. We also did some live debugging. We're at 45 minutes now. I'm going to add timestamps to the full video, and I have so many more amazing ideas of agents and bots to build. So yeah, I'd be super happy to see you guys in the next video as well. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out and let me know in the comments. If you do like those kind of videos and guides and tutorials, then also feel free to subscribe. It will help me a ton, would make me, well, super happy on this new channel. And yeah, I'm gonna see you guys in the next one. Hope you all have an amazing day. And I'm super happy about any feedback, so please do not hesitate to, you know, just get any feedback, whether it's on YouTube or any of the other socials. So I will see you all in the next one, and please let me know what tutorial I should make next. So have an amazing weekend. Peace.